for when I feel all over the place. May 4th, 2025, 9:09 a.m. I'm glad I opened to the language of letting go because today's meditation has to do with God asking. Today's meditation has to do with asking God to help us with our compulsive behavior. I think compulsively about my shame and feelings of inadequacy and think that's really who I am. Hence why it's hard for me to look at my physical self and want to connect. God grant me compassion for my body. Good health to you. Psalm 94, 12 through 15. Psalm 30, 4 through 5. Psalm 100. May 6, 2025, 8:56 a.m. Today I can trust my body. May 12th, 2025, 9:15 a.m. Today I am a friend to myself. I trust the timing of my life and offer God my attention, praise, and thanksgiving. Help me to trust where and how you are leading me. Comfort my mind and heart and bring relief to my inner being. Please help us to move on one accord and respect each other to listen and take up space. Thank you in advance for hearing us, for understanding, clarity, serenity, and ever-presence. Amen. May 19th, 2025, 9:18 a.m. for next week's check-in. And then I wrote the definitions for examine, repeat, repeatedly, repetition, repetitious, repetitive, and the synonyms for those words. So I was in my reviewing of last week's reflection and sharing, this thought came over me and I was like, I feel like I just said all of that before. I'm not saying anything new. And I was all worried and concerned about that. Like, did I say that? Am I just like stuck in this bubble and cycle of... So in an effort to calm myself and reassure myself, I have been considering the benefits of repetition, like the purpose of repetition, right? And I was thinking about how I've been going to the track consistently throughout the year. And even though I hadn't been running, I'd been walking and just wanting to challenge myself to just make it to the track. And that was going to be enough for me to just make it. And in whatever condition I showed up, I was just going to be there, you know? And recently I've been running a little bit. This past week, I ran maybe 4 laps. Yay! And now I find myself wanting to kind of push that a little bit more, challenge myself a little bit more, but also wanting to, with the awareness that I have of like not pushing myself too hard, wanting to just continue with the consistency, to give myself more realistic goals, and even reconsidering like how I'm tracking my habits and things like that. So I was thinking about how in working out, I have to do a particular exercise consistently in order to see the results. In learning anything new, I have to repeat and reread and practice over and over certain aspects in order to really understand what it is that I'm studying, what it is that I'm learning, what it is that I'm reading. And that's how I'll know like where I am in my learning and in my application. And I thought about how I'll think about things over and over, and I've, to some extent, criticized myself for that constant loop in my head. But if I can take a step back and say of it that it's just things that I care about, that I'm working out, I can offer myself compassion as I'm trying to make changes. And I thought about how my mind is attempting to adjust to new realities and adjust to a new life pretty regularly. And that helps me to view my attempts in a more gentle way. So when I've said that I think about more negative emotions compulsively, I view my quote unquote negative traits in a compulsive way and think that that's who I am. I think it's because I'm trying to find ways to correct those thought patterns and behaviors and make those changes. So in the middle of those things happening, like I'm not really thinking about it like that. I'm just thinking like, I'm not even really thinking honestly. I'm just like kind of moving through, And so like taking moments to reflect like this helps me to observe myself better and then offer myself like more understanding and explanation and things, so I can move away from thinking about my compulsions in this negative way and just like show myself compassion and understanding. I can forgive myself for compulsive behaviors that I've entertained, and even in questioning, am I stuck? I wrote down doomed to repeat the same mistakes, question mark. So I worry about things like that, recreating my trauma and wanting to, but being unable to escape certain memories that I have, and believing that there's something that I can do to change things from the past, and feeling stubborn in my inability to let go of the things that I can't control, believing that this time I'll prove myself and I'll be able to win. Thinking that I'm like more in control of certain things and that I'm God when I am not. Yeah. So I think there's room and space for critique I was thinking about this show that I'm watching that I'm enjoying, but also I have critiques of the concept of the show and the way that people are engaging on the show. And I think that I can love and appreciate myself and still critique myself and offer myself room for improvement, which is the whole thing, is the whole point, right? So I've been navigating finding balance between these extremes that I've lived in. Like, I'm either like super harsh and critical and unrealistic about my past and how my future, my present and future should be, and or I'm super passive and indecisive and um, lazy to some degree, and I'm wanting to find a more happy medium between those levels of like living and existing and things. So repetition is helpful. Um, it's necessary when I'm making the changes that I'm making, um, so that I'm able to in those spaces where I've removed or am removing things and there's like this emptiness and void, I can fill it with more positive things, more healthy things, and um, essentially reinforce and reinstate um, those things that I say are important to me and are necessary for my well-being. Right, there was a I really enjoy like productivity tools and productivity strategies, and more recently though I've had to stop tracking my my habits and the things that I want to like have or be habitual, because I was over I was over emphasizing or putting too much attention on the tracking part of it. And I was like, even in it was like 5 or 6 things that I was trying to track. And I was like, but I feel like I'm already doing that. So I don't feel the need to have to like check mark. I don't know. I was like connecting it some kind of way to like, okay, I don't know, maybe I was like pushing myself to like make sure that I get it done every single day. Make sure that I'm doing all the things every single day. Even if it was just even if it was just 5 or 6 things, right? And I was like, okay, but I wanted to feel more like flowy and not as much harsh. You know? So I had to stop that for a little bit because I was like, I don't know, I want to feel like or like gravitate to the thing more. Like I want to do it instead of feeling like I'm being forced to do it to check off a thing, you know? So that's been helping a little bit more, you know, which I think is really interesting. Because I'm trying to figure myself out a little bit more and learn more about myself and understand myself a little bit more. So it feels more attractive to me if I'm not necessarily tracking it down. It's an option and an opportunity for me, and not necessarily like I must do this thing every day. There are some days where, like the other day, I was like, I read, I journaled, I tidied up, I watched something, I went to the track, and then, you know, like I was able to write more than I usually would. And that felt like a good day, right? So then I'm trying to like replicate that. And like the next day, my energy wasn't necessarily the same. So I didn't do all those things, or I didn't do all those things in that order. And so it just didn't work for me, right? But I'm trying to like replicate this thing because I felt good. And I was like, no, like there are going to be moments where your energy or your attention is a little higher, and so you're able to do that. And then there'll be Other days where you're dealing with something that you didn't have to deal with before, your energy might be a little lower, your attention might be somewhere else, where that's just all you have for that day, and that's okay, you know. So in wanting to um, um, adjust like my habits and my daily things, like I have to take that into consideration as well. And so being more compassionate to the present and what I have in front of me right now, instead of trying to make it be the same thing every single day, because that's not realistic, you know. I touched on this a little bit, and I acknowledge that I tend to want to overcompensate in certain areas of my life. And so I'm in my mind a lot, overworking um, instead of um, instead of being present with the fact that in some ways, like, there is still a lot of like grief that I have to tend to. And that requires me to go over things that I've gone over before, you know, in a new way, in a different way, to invite um, new ideas, different perspectives, additional help and resources. Because I don't have everything, I don't know everything. I need help. You know, I can't do it by myself, you know? So in thinking about that, I was like, well, where can I go with all the stuff that I'm holding and all the things that I'm trying to do and be and stuff, you know? And like, where can I feel safe? And so when I think about that and like how in certain ways I am lacking, it makes me feel anxious and disorganized and nervous, you know, like I'm gonna be found out for being not enough, you know. And so I feel then, from that feeling of like not feeling enough, I feel like I have to overcompensate, overwork, and then I feel like I'm being and doing too much, you know. And I wrote, I just want to like and love myself just as I am right now. Gosh darn it. You know. So my journal helps me to like contain myself, you know, and to a certain degree I feel safe here, you know. So I'm reminding myself that I can trust the process. I can trust the timing of my heart and my mind and of my body. And I am learning again how to listen. I'm challenging myself to ask questions. First of all, ask questions. Don't assume. Don't think you know where you don't. Ask questions, and then ask more questions, and then ask better questions. I'm challenging myself to keep my routines. What are the basic things that you know that you need to do? And then what additional things can you implement to give yourself that extra love, that extra little piece of like variety and spontaneity and fun. I thought about the goodness of repetition is that I'm building my trust muscle. I am building my ability to feel familiar to myself, like I know myself, to feel comfort, to feel comforted by myself. Like I know what I need to give myself, what I need to say to myself to feel safe, to feel like I have a safety net, someone that I can rely on, someone who I can like talk to about things and say, hey, I'm exploring this, or I'm struggling with this thing, and kind of like have a springboard of like how to like go about the thing, and trusting myself, building myself up to based on this foundation that I've laid for myself, to be able to rely on myself. Thinking about the goodness of repetition as a time for preparation, for the things that I've asked God for, that I am receiving now and learning how to embrace. And I'm thinking about how repetition helps me to feel ready. It helps me to, in some ways, be predictable and be reliable and be stable. I thought about how sometimes I'm like, that's boring. That's all you be doing, girl. You ain't been talking about nothing else. You still talking about that? Oh my goodness. And I can be like tempted to like crave the chaos and the madness and the insanity and the disorder and the dysfunction, and like go back to that, or like live in that again, or recreate that, right? But I want to continue to just remind myself that I can create and be and live and thrive in the calm and the serenity that is my life, you know. And so I can continue to show up and come back, and whatever I'm talking about is what I'm talking about. Okay? And if I'm talking about it, it's because I need to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? And that's okay. So I'm gonna read today's meditation from The Language of Letting Go, May 25th, 2025. Loving ourselves unconditionally. Love yourself into health and a good life of your own. Love yourself into relationships that work for you and the other person. Love yourself into peace, happiness, joy, success, and contentment. Love yourself into all that you always wanted. We can stop treating ourselves the way others treated us if they behaved in a less than healthy, desirable way. If we have learned to see ourselves critically, conditionally, and in a diminishing and punishing way, it's time to stop. Other people treated us that way, but it's even worse to treat ourselves that way now. Loving ourselves may seem foreign, even foolish at times. People may accuse us of being selfish. We don't have to believe them. People who love themselves are truly able to love others and let others love them. People who love themselves are truly able to love others and let others love them. People who love themselves and hold themselves in high esteem are those who give the most, contribute the most, love the most. How do we love ourselves? By forcing it at first, by faking it if necessary, by acting as if, by working as hard at loving and liking ourselves as we have at not liking ourselves. Explore what it means to love yourself. Do things for yourself that reflect compassionate, nurturing self-love. Embrace and love all of yourself, past, present, and